Oh, right. No, it really has been a little while. Well, actually, I think it's not the longest break I've ever taken, but yeah, I'm just going to do one now anyway, because I've got a few terrible thoughts. Pretty rubbish ones. Not terrible, as in, like they used to be. That kind of terrible. But terrible just as in the content of them is pretty crap. Also, feeling a bit ill. Rather ill recently. I tried taking vitamin D. I was trying to take it in the afternoon, see if that made any difference and let me sleep better. And I took it. First day was okay. First night of the first day taking it. Second day, the effects felt kind of goodish, but my last night's sleep was absolutely abysmal. And obviously that could be accounted for by the illness. And what's strange is that I think it was pretty much exactly this time last year that I got this very similar illness. But I don't like it. I find it difficult to believe that there could be any real connection, like a kind of seasonal affective illness rather than a sort of, sad disorder or whatever. Not sad disorder, D twice. Because, well, I guess it could be like an illness that just, I don't know, I'm too ill and stupid. When I get ill, I get very stupid. I mean, how would it know? Oh, fuck it. I was going to say, it wouldn't really have any concept of time, but I guess it could just be a coincidence. Well, it would in a sense, but a year would just seem like too much of a coincidence, because years is something we've kind of made up. Well, not made up. It's to do with the sun and stuff, and the Earth's rotation and stuff. But you know what I mean, right? No, you don't. Okay, I'm just gonna get off with it. Get on with it. Get off with it. I'm just gonna get the one that I hate the most out of the way first. And I'm really not sure how I feel about this one, because it seems to go against everything I've believed and everything Sam says. But I think also it might not. And I think he may have covered it in his podcast, the consciousness podcast he did with that guy who did the TED Talk. And his name isn't Ari Schaefer. That's some guy that I'd never seen, but I've seen him once on Joe Rogan for like a 5-minute clip. But it's not him. He's got a similar name, I think. Anyway, I'll just read it straight and then talk about it. Now, this really is going to sound like the stupidest thing I, or anyone, has ever said. I wonder if this was it. This is what I asked myself at one point. I wonder if I'm even conscious. And that should seem like, anyway. Right, I was thinking about this for a while and noticed that while, yes, it is like something to be me, everything about me seems to be lacking anything I would consider exceptional. I seem to be able to tell that I'm here and not over there. I can see, hear, smell, and feel things and relay that information to myself and others. I can form opinions and log memories in order to recall them later. I can suffer and supposedly feel joy, and a whole other host of emotions. That was a little quip. I'm not as quite suicidal as I used to be. But what if this consciousness thing is just simply what it is to have these processes occurring? I suppose this would entail that all systems are conscious, but this conclusion would not imply that all systems are conscious in the same way that we are. They wouldn't necessarily be able to suffer, let alone understand what suffering is. A system can be as simple or as complex as physics will allow, and its consciousness constrained by the processes it conducts and combines. Now, I'll talk about that after. If it can see through some sort of visual apparatus, or whatever the correct pronunciation of that is, then images will form part of its subjective experience. But if this vision isn't combined with the capacity to pass judgment on what it sees, or alter the way it behaves depending on what it sees, then its experience will be simply a vision. Well, yeah, obviously there could be other things, but if it didn't have those, if it only had the vision thing, like if it was just a camcorder or whatever, video camera, I guess that has slightly more processes, but so few compared to what we're experiencing. Anyway, of course this is near impossible for us to imagine. We can perhaps imagine being in a vegetative state and somehow viewing everything with complete indifference and impartiality, and perhaps meditation can achieve even more than this. But truly unaccompanied vision is unimaginable for us. And of course, any of these systems with rudimentary complexes, the complex being like the amalgam of all the different kind of processes you've got going on, would have no objections to the cessation of their experience, only if the processes which provide incentives for the continuation of processes were present, would the system seek to do so, and similarly avoid cessation. Okay, right, so yeah, I think Sam kind of covered this with that guy. I think it's like one of the leading. It might actually be. So maybe I've just stumbled across one of the leading thing. I think they mentioned something called integrated information theory, and it sounds like that would be similar wording for what I'm talking about. So maybe I'm just agreeing with that. But I seem to remember that I'll have to re-listen to the podcast because there was something that didn't that Sam raised that didn't satisfy me about that theory for some reason. But yeah, I don't know. Just kind of realised that. And also, I didn't write this down, but this got tied in with these thoughts about goals, because that's something that's been popping up in those podcasts every now and again. And I was wondering if you could have a system that didn't have a reward for a goal, so it still achieves goals, but that doesn't necessarily need rewards to do that. So, and I can't. I'm too stupid at the moment to work it out. But I was just picturing like a simple electric circuit. You just have like a switch and a bulb, right? But I don't know how. I guess it must be what's the name, implicit or whatever in the definition of goal that it has a reward, because otherwise you're just saying it has a goal. So I don't know, because basically I was just saying it's got a switch and a bulb, and maybe some second switch which alternates on and off, just at some set or open and closed at some set time period, so with some set delay or something like that. And I don't know how, I'm not right, but the second switch that alternates, just constantly going on and off with some indiscriminate time thing, and the first switch maybe randomly, not randomly, well, maybe it does it too, maybe it's also turning on and off, but they're like non-synchronized, so maybe one turns on every half a second and the other one turns on every 2 seconds. And the goal, you just say the goal is to turn the bulb on, but obviously the bulb will only turn on when both switches are closed, and but then it's just random. It's not random, but it's just, I don't know. I mean, there's no reward for it when that bulb turns on because the two things happen to close at the same time. I don't know. I don't really know what I was on about there. Just wondering if that could be a thing. Because then, if you extrapolate that, you just have a really complex little complex of different goal circuits which don't actually have rewards. They're just kind of processes, just operations, just going on repeat. And then if something happens, then I also had it in my mind that you could somehow like make this switch thing so that if it achieves the goal, then it does it again. If it doesn't achieve the goal, it does it again. But that's just that wasn't really it. God, it sounds so stupid because I am so stupid at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to try and find it. Where was the last one I did? Oh no. Oh, I actually had a weird little depressive episode. It didn't last that long, thankfully, but similar to the ones I used to have. Kind of jealousy born, I think. So, obviously my kind of rebuttal to this recently has been that your subjective experience is the only thing that matters. Blah blah blah. Oh, this was actually how it tied in with the goal thing. So, yes, I guess it. But I'm wondering if this starts to rebut the idea that I was so attached to, and Sam seems to be as well, that our real goal should be trying to maximise the amount of positive, conscious, subjective experience in the world, right? So the more we have of that, the better. And I wonder if it is better than just nothing. I don't know. I can't remember what I was doing. I think it was something along the lines of... so Sam has this... I struggle to appreciate this yet. But Sam seems to believe that, the nature of consciousness is so good that it makes life much better than just worth living. Each moment-to-moment experience is pretty great. But obviously part of... If this whole integrated information theory thing was correct, then one of the processes that we have is... or that he's having there is a kind of goal. It's like a goal to... Oh, fuck, I've lost it. Fuck. So you have all these goals going on, you have... Oh, fuck! This is going to end up being too long for the email. If one of the processes... it's just fucking existence bias is all it is, really, but a more complicated version of that. So I just wondering whether good... Well, I guess it... I'm not sure... Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure how much I value good conscious experiences anymore. I'm doubting that, but I guess I probably do. If I had a really good one, then maybe I would. But yeah. Yeah, whatever. Let's see, where do I think I got up to? Definitely did that. Oh, yes, here we go. I experienced sleep paralysis 3 times in one night, only for about 5 or 10 seconds each time, but that was enough, given the predicaments of the dreams to be quite scary. One time felt almost self-induced. I think I believe in hypnotism. Okay, this was all immediately as I woke up, so I was very, very tired. I think I believe in hypnotism more than I used to now. In fact, the first time arose because in one dream I had a wild, angry outburst and explained it to the people who witnessed it as having felt like it wasn't me when I was doing it, and I didn't feel in control of my body, which might not have necessarily been true. I think I just had some kind of outburst at people, and then later in the dream I tried to explain it to people, and I didn't really feel in control of my body. I think it was kind of semi-true. I think I was kind of lying to get away with it, but anyway. Nevertheless, the dream me wondered whether someone was hypnotizing me in my sleep, and as this thought occurred, I happened to be lying in bed in my dream. So I was in my dream, obviously, but in that dream I was lying in bed, not conscious of the fact that I was in a dream anyway, and heard footsteps that were extremely loud and deep, booming, but also quickened, and some whispers as the left... What the fuck? And some whispers as the left the room... What the fuck? At the left of the room... Oh, I don't know. Left the room, walked past me to the end of the room and back. Never mind. It really wasn't a coherent sentence anyway. It was at this point that I tried to turn my head to see the culprit, but couldn't for at least 5 seconds, and when I finally could, it woke me. The second time was an entirely unrelated dream, but when it woke me, I was still kind of trying to turn my head in a semi-awake state. I was kind of semi-asleep, semi-awake. I was still trying to turn my head, and I just couldn't do it. Eventually I kind of managed to overpower the thing that was stopping me, but anyway. The second time was an entirely unrelated dream, seemingly, anyway. But at some point I became aware the house I was in contained the room that had been my bedroom in the previous dream. I entered it, and it was pitch black again. This time I heard a sinister voice whisper, but somehow extremely loudly, so the volume was really loud, like you recorded someone whispering in the terminal volume right up. Extremely loudly something, the only word of which I can remember as prostitute. It was more than that, and anyway, it might not be more, but anyway. As this happened, my dream body whisked backwards throughout the house at extreme speed. It was more of a mansion. The initiation of which felt as though under my control, or at least in agreement with my desires. But it soon became apparent that I couldn't move my dream body or my real one for again some time. Perhaps only 3 seconds this time. The third time occurred in a room I can't remember, but which seems to me right now not dissimilar to a police interrogation room, in which I kissed a girl, but almost knew there would be consequences. I felt semi-aware that doing so would induce another paralytic state, but then I didn't feel any true agency, not that it's ever real, and soon enough kissed the girl. In fact, at least part of this dream was spent in third person. However, after kissing the woman, I turned around, and there appeared the guy from About Time and Black Mirror, the guy who died and was cloned in a bathtub. He's doing that film with James Corden with bunny rabbits and stuff. He was holding a shotgun, either pointed towards me or himself, I can't remember. This was accompanied by a generic horror movie da sound, and again a short sleep paralysis began. It should be mentioned that when I had the sleep paralysis in my dream at first, there was a period of actual sleep paralysis that lasted a few seconds longer in the real world. after I'd woken up, so to speak. I was awake, but my body didn't respond to my desires to move, even though those desires were mostly grounded in beliefs held in my dream reality. So, yeah, the incentive to move was kind of still because I was reeling from the dream, but I was awake. I kind of knew where I was-ish, but couldn't move in it. Now, this is going to sound rather stupid, perhaps because it is, but I wonder if the evolutionary advantage... Oh, God, this was really bad. But I wonder if the evolutionary advantage of consciousness is imagination. Fucking hell. Now, this one really is... This is more stupid than the integrated information theory bullshit. Oh, well, anyway. I'm not sure imagination is possible without consciousness, a subject. Of course, this wouldn't explain what consciousness actually is or how it arises, but it's obvious how imagination provides an evolutionary advantage. So really, I'm just saying imagination provides an evolutionary advantage. That's all I'm really saying. Being able to imagine scenarios without having to actually experience them, even multiple times, especially dangerous ones, to learn and improve your responses and behaviour seem like an obvious benefit. And in many ways, we're always imagining everything we perceive to be real. That's what the guys who did that podcast, the Consciousness podcast, Sam Harris's TED Talk was all about. It was all about how we hallucinate our entire reality, our conscious reality. Anyway, although we distinguish between what we know to be only occurring in our minds, the real world is perceived and created in the minds in a very similar way. It just involves a greater percentage of extrinsic input. Okay, right, I'm just going to leave it there. I said the things, alright, that's good enough for me. God, my nose is so runny. See if I can remember any of the things I was trying to get at. Yeah, so goals without rewards, is that possible? I don't know. Maybe it just doesn't constitute a goal with that. I don't think many people would call what I was describing just two switches turning on and off having a goal. Everything being conscious. Oh yeah, so even a fucking cell is conscious, but it's just so nothing like what we would. I think really what we're looking for as consciousness is something that we experience as consciousness. So obviously, and I think Sam was agreeing with this. I had this idea ages ago, so I'm obviously much smarter than Sam. But I thought just consciousness has to be a freaking continuum or a spectrum, right? And we're more conscious than fucking rats, and someone who's really fucking smart is probably more conscious than someone who's pretty fucking retarded. Who's got serious brain damage. Let's say that. I said it in a more forgiving way last time. But yes, Sam was saying that he thinks we're more conscious than mice, and mice are more conscious than cockroaches, or whatever. So it's pretty much the same thing. And I'd say, this makes me sympathetic to the idea that maybe everything is conscious, so maybe even an atom is conscious. But that idea of consciousness is so detached from anything that we would. It's pointless. And also, I had this idea before that you could have, if that's true, then surely, if every part of me is conscious, right, has its own consciousness, then surely you'd have some conflict between the things. But if I'm not sure that's true, because the consciousness is just the summation of all the processes or operations undergoing within it, right? Actually, now I'm starting to doubt it. Anyway, so if you took you with your entire brain is one consciousness. You with the left side of your brain is also a conscious. You with just the right side of your brain is also a consciousness, right? But because the one with the consciousness with just the left brain is part of the consciousness with the whole brain, then the processes which are added on top of just the left brain version don't, or they're in keeping. You still contain all the ones that are there, so you can only. So adding more processes that add to the conscious experience can't counteract can't. Oh fuck, man! I can't do words. And now I'm starting to doubt it as well, because maybe you could add something which kind of is counter something, not counterproductive, something counter, or just counteractive, I guess, with what the consciousness that was already with it. I don't know. I really don't know. Man, I don't know. So yeah. But yes. And I guess you'd have to ask which consciousness we experience, and I guess we just experience the fucking whichever ones, there are some unconscious processes going on. Maybe, but surely that has to be conscious as well. Oh, I don't know what's going on. So maybe there is a consciousness of some sort that's experienced the unconscious ones as well. But then you'd think, I think the confusion arises because, or maybe it's not confusion, but then you'd have to imagine that there's a separate consciousness, and the separate consciousness would surely, if it's a separate consciousness, then it's a separate person, is what you start to think, and then you'd be able to communicate with it. But if it would just contain things that, never mind, man. I give up. I don't know. Because you can't really draw the line at the consciousness anyway. So they're all consciousnesses, but they're all so aligned, sort of, that there's no distinction to be made. I mean, there is a distinction of sorts. If you could select out certain processes, then you'd know that was a consciousness, and you could perhaps narrow down which one accounts for all the things that you're experiencing, or that you know to be you. And actually, I think it would say that you're not even, the idea of you from moment to moment is even less tangible than we think. I don't think it's that tangible really at all. I mean, I guess it's kind of just memory that accounts for that. The kind of continuation thing. Anyway, I'm fucking done. I'm done with this. Bye. Hold on, I've got on back in a second there. Forgot to go explain the minor depressive episode thing. Basically, I watched a computer foil video about John von Neumann. And it's basically the moment where he said he could divide 8-digit numbers by 8-digit numbers when he was 6 years old, and they all knew he was a child prodigy and all that. And it's kind of similar. And this again, the kind of realisation that I just can't be smart as I'd ever want to be. So yes. There's surely more to say than that. But yeah, it's kind of the realisation that there are, a brilliant mind like that is only possible because of the, and it was apparent from very early that's, in keeping, it's part of process of thing. And I was wondering whether microbiome is, because of the fact that what I've learned, I did a video on it about, microbiome and blah 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 and all that, and I said blah 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 again. God. I think I'm just going to end it there because I can't remember anything I was going to say. But yeah, John von Neumann, what a lucky guy, eh? What a lucky bastard. But this is similar to the things I used to feel about Tesla. But yeah.